Hello, everyone. Yes, it's me, Gary from Panto Archive. It's so wonderful to have you with us today. And we have got a very, very, very special little chat planned for you today because we are welcoming our latest members to the Panto Hall of Fame. Oh, I love this. It's so exciting. This pair, this little group, are joining the likes of Jim Davidson, Sue Pollard, John Callis, the Patton, and the Elliott brothers, the Chuckle brothers. They are going to be in a very, very special list. So I'm pleased to welcome today Richard and Sooty. Hello, both of you. Oh,
Hello,
hello,
well,
Richard only.
hello, Richard. Well, no, I knew you'd say that. So here he is. Hey!
Oh,
There we are. Take a bow. You're in the Panto Hall of Fame. Can't believe it's fainted. We'll get him up
oh
in a minute.
no.
There we are.
Oh
He's
no.
gone. Look, that's
Oh
the
no.
proof. There
He's,
we
he's
are.
gone to do
He'll be,
breakfast or whatever he's doing.
he'll be back. He'll be back.
Richard, thank you so much for joining us today. And congratulations on joining the Panto Hall of Fame.
I'm gobsmacked, to be honest, to be within the company of such exalted names and names that I looked up to on my Panto journey and learned from. So I'm quite very humbled and quite surprised, but of course, very, very grateful.
Yeah, no, we have a long, hard discussion every single year about who we're going to add to it, and your name and Sooty was at the top this year because so many of us who I've spoken to in the industry, so many people that I have spoken out of the industry about it as well, because it's important that it's not just us that are performing. Just said, go on, put them in. They're so special. They are.
Oh well, yeah. Well, somebody took a bribe somewhere. I don't know, but listen, I'm very happy to be here. I mean, I've had such a long journey in pantomime, and it is nice to, just having this award has made me look back at all the people I've met along the way. And I started Panto when I was 15. I'm 55 now, and other than this year, this is the only year I've ever missed either a pantomime or the Sooty Christmas show, which is basically a pantomime. This is the first year I've taken a step back just for family reasons, nothing more. Yeah. I'll be back, and I've just gone to see loads of panto. So I've been a punter this year, and I've been able to really enjoy, soaking it all up and seeing what everybody else does for a change.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean that is amazing. All those years in Panto, Richard, and of course then you were joined by Sooty as well. But before Sooty sort of came onto the scene, how has it sort of changed from starting maybe without Sooty, and just, and I don't mean this in a horrible way because I've done it myself, but maybe just not the high billing, or you're just a comic or whatever. And I say that in a very nice way.
Well, lots of things change. I mean, obviously, I've done commercial pantomime. So the commercial pantomime is a business. Yeah. So lots of things changed. My fee changed, though I was doing exactly the same act. I mean, that was the joke of it. I mean, before I was aligned with Sooty, I was still playing those buttons type roles. Not as often. I was often Dandini or some sort of secondary role. But yeah, and then of course when you get on the telly, everything changes and the billing moves up. I was just doing the same old material, really, that I'd done for years. So that was quite odd. But I think, how do I explain? Oh, I'm stumbling really. It was a different transformation when I got Sooty, because Sooty was a great tool, and I'd never done panto. So I'd done pantos for years and years and years, but Sooty had never done a panto. And when I got the job, I said to the new owners, because I didn't own it at the time, I worked for somebody else, I said, why don't we journey into the world of pantomime? And it was very new to them. So I kind of proved it worked in that situation. And now, of course, we've done them forever. So it was lovely to introduce Sooty into that world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I suppose what I was sort of, I didn't want to put you on the spot, obviously, but I suppose what I was asking is how did Panto feel when you were on your own? Because you've always got a right hand man now, pardon the pun. You've got someone by your side always. How does it feel when you were Dandini and you had maybe someone else with you that you were having to work with? Is it nice to work with different people?
What you mean, to work with Sooty? I mean, of course, it's a very different dynamic. But within the pantos there's loads of stuff that I don't do with Sooty. I mean, I do, before I joined the Sooty show, I was an illusionist, and I did big illusions, and they kind of got all parked so I could do the Sooty show. And now, of course, I do the Panto. I bring them out and I do some big illusions, which have nothing to do with Sooty at all. So there are moments that I get to do my own stuff. And I have to say, I secretly like doing all those, the wall routine, and If I Were Not, and all that stuff where I don't have to rely on Sooty. You know, so yeah, I like doing my own stuff, but it's great to have such a great foil in Sooty. And Sweep, of course, I was introduced, and the audience go mad when he comes on. And it's a perfect thing for Panto. It's people, because Panto's all about family, isn't it? And everybody's grown up watching Sooty, whatever age you are. So it is a guaranteed winner. And I found out, I remember doing Panto with the Crankies, the last, who are heroes of mine, the last Panto I did before Sooty, I was playing Will Scarlett with the Crankies in Robin Hood. And I remember Jeanette Cranky said, the difference now is they're going to love you. They'll love you. Whereas, and that was the difference. I used to walk out as an unknown, as Buttons, and you know, you've got sort of, my mother, who's an actress, said, you've got 10 seconds to make them like you. And it's true, you've got the 10-second rule. And I used to walk out, hi, everybody, make sure I looked at everybody and smiled at everybody. And I had to really work that first minute. They're going to like me. They're going to find me funny. They're going to do all this stuff. When I walk out with Sooty, go, hello, then they sort of know who you are. They go, hey, and you get that applause. And you think, wow, you still have to work, but you kind of feel like you're on the home stretch before you've even opened your mouth. And that's a huge difference, which people that are lucky enough to have that little bit of TV or whatever it is, sort of we're lucky to get that little moment. But then you have to work for it. You can't just rely on that. You have to then prove you can deliver. So it's a double-edged sword, because your expectations are high, but they're pleased to see you. That's the difference.
And you've always had fantastic reviews, as you say, because you have worked hard over these years. And as we've heard from lots of people that sort of put your name forward to say, you know, he deserves it as such. I know it's horrible, isn't it? As such, hearing all these things, you're like, I don't know what to say.
I need to know who these mysterious names are. I need to know the mystery behind all this. But listen, I'm happy. I'll take it. I'm not just saying it. There was a few people, and probably people you've probably never met as well, that have enjoyed the shows and seen you in Panto and on stage. Richard, which one is your favourite? I know that's the multi-million-pound question when it comes to Panto. Which one has a special place for you? Cinderella. I'll always love playing Buttons. There's, you know, as I say, my mum was an actress, and before I did the Sooty and the magic, I did do some acting, and I just think I love that moment when Cinderella says to Buttons, "I don't love you." And I just think if you can, I work for, when I first started Panto, the first time I was ever played Buttons was actually in a brilliant amateur pantomime, which still runs to this day. I learned so much there. And that moment was played for real. And I remember them saying, no, you're not, this is not a funny moment. Play it for real. And if you get it right, the audience will cry. And I've always held on to that. And I just love that moment where you can do all that nonsense and then you can bring it right down. And when she says, I don't love you, you just, because the audience love you by now, you can just, you know, they're all in the world. They're all in that zone, aren't they? And if you just get it right to bring it right down. And you don't get the chance to do that with a lot of the wishy-washies and the muddles, because it's all on one level. So Buttons, and I did the Theatre Royal Nottingham a few years ago, and I used to do that thing with those wonderful twins flying coaches, and I was in the coach there, and Cinderella's on the front, those horses are galloping, and if you've never seen it, I mean, it's just incredible. And Theatre Royal Nottingham is particularly nice because the apron's quite forward and the audience are quite close, so it really looks like you're flying right over the audience. And I remember looking down, and there were three little girls, and they all had their little princess outfits on, little crowns, and they were looking up, waving, and they were crying. One of the girls was crying with happiness. The tears were rolling down her eyes, because you could see she dressed up as a princess. There was Cinderella. We were over our heads with the horses. And I cried, you know, I cried real tears and thought, this is the most incredible job to give those children this magic. It's happening. It's not on a screen. It's happening feet away from them. And that girl's crying with happiness. And that's when you step back and think, what other job gives me that? So Buttons is a role that sort of delivers that. So yeah, that's my all-time favourite. Is always going to be that role.
Yeah, I mean, I've just finished Cinderella myself, and as you say, it's the only show where you get that sort of different angle. It's brilliant.
Do you know what I love with Cinderella as well? Here's one, because I've seen so many shows this year, And often the story is compromised for spectacle, variety, or whatever. And I think you've got to have a story. The children want a story. They need to understand. You can't just throw it away in a few lines. And I think it's important. And Cinderella's one of those titles, they can't really mess with it. You've got to have the shoe, you've got to have the uglies, you can't really mess with the story. Whereas all the others, you can twist and bend it and throw bits away. So I like it because we get that generally you always tell the story properly in that one.
Yeah, I 100% agree. And as you say, you for one time only, maybe in a panto, that you actually side away from the princess or the lead character a little bit, because you're like, no, I want you to be with Buttons. He's nice.
Where was I? I don't know if it was Nottingham, but I forget who was playing Cinders now. They used to boo her. They used to boo her. And she said, stop doing it so well. I don't want you, they're booing me. I know, but that's, you know, I'm sorry. I'll try and ease off of it, you know. Yeah. But I mean, no, it was a compliment.
Yeah.
But in some of them, I think it was Jim Davidson, or I forget who it was that did it, where Buttons actually got the girl. I got Cinders. I forget, somebody did Bend the Rules once, legendarily so. But it doesn't matter. They love you all for it, for it. You know, so.
Exactly. Richard, when you're looking at performing, I know a lot of the times you've sort of said, oh, will you do this, will you do this? Is it Cinderella that you would go towards playing again then, or is there another one that you're like, oh, I'm desperate to do that? Because you've near enough done all of them, Richard.
I've been lucky enough to have done all the titles, in lots of different roles. And don't forget, I produced for several years with the legendary Barry Stead. I mean, we were, that was a baptism of fire. And I say this to anyone watching that's a turn, and I consider myself a turn. You know, is that it's really difficult to produce. And you know, and often we turn up to do our 2 weeks rehearsal, walk down and get all that applause and think we did it. And I used to think like that. But having been a producer, and you see the years worth of slog and licenses and all the horrible PRS, all the nasty paperwork that goes on, and the costs that escalate, and the fine margins, because we all think, oh, they're making millions, but they really, really don't. Even the biggest guys are cutting very small margins. When you've been that side of things, and then you come back to performing, which is what I wouldn't want to direct or produce ever again. I did my stint. I enjoyed it. It's not, you know, I prefer messing about on stage. But when you come back with that knowledge, it means you enjoy the shows even more, I think, because you go up there and think, wow, I'm in front of this, you know, these millions of pounds worth of scenery, lights, musicians, and all this is making me look brilliant, and these beautiful costumes. So I've been, you know, I'm very appreciative of all the pantos I've been in. You know, I said I've done all more, and Cinderella's my favourite. I don't know. It all depends what they offer me, doesn't it? Because they, you know, I'm very lucky. I've worked for Crossroads for a good few years now, and they tend to move their sort of people about. I mean, I don't know. I've got nothing fixed for next year, so I don't know where I'll be or if I'll be there working for them. I don't know. But they tend to sort of move you about, so you often don't get much of a choice. Like I did Goldilocks at Southampton last year, and I was just like, right, you're doing Goldilocks. Well, what about, no, that's the one you're doing. That's the way you're doing Goldilocks. Yeah. Okay, it's Goldilocks, which was a different sort of show. Very different. That was more of a variety show. It enabled me to do some big illusions and really milk the illusions, which I loved. I never worked out what the story was, but the audience loved it. So you got to, that's what they all stood, you know, you've got to, that's your benchmark, isn't it?
And I suppose that's what you were saying earlier about Cinderella. You know, some of these other titles, especially Goldilocks, I mean, the story's not really there, is it? You know, it's a variety show. There's a little thread going through, obviously, for the story, but and I think sometimes that's what people like, though. They like that variety, as you say, to have these illusions and amazing things on stage.
Well, yeah, and you've got to, at the end of the day, you know, I've been to see so many shows this year. Some of them have been amazing, some of them probably not so, but the audience is still sort of lap them up, stand up, get ovations. So sometimes we maybe can be too close to it. And you're right, the Goldilocks I was in last year, there was very little story, but spectacle. It was the Palladium set, straight from the Palladium. Spectacle, incredible. I mean, I used to stand on the side of the stage, and if anyone's ever seen it, there's a moment where Betty Barnum goes, let's go to the greatest show on earth. And this mind-blowing set of multi-depth LEDs and, you know, dancers in the most amazing costumes blasts into you, just pops up in front of you. and it just takes your breath away, you know, and for that alone, to be part of that and just walk on and go, hello everybody, all of
Yeah.
that it's mind blowing. And the audience, yeah, there's lots of, but never. So I always appreciate when I've got that, and to have a live band these days. Yeah, wow, amazing.
Yeah, Richard, I always ask people this, if you don't mind. Where did the love of Panto start? And a lot of people say that they went to see it as a child. There was one show that particularly sort of it sort of got them into the business as such. Was there a moment for you where your love of Panto started?
Oh, categorically. Absolutely. And it's clear as a bell. I can remember it right now. So as I said to you, my mother was an actress, and she, our local theatre was the Little Theatre in Leicester, which I'm now a patron of all these years ago because of because of this memory, amongst many other things. And I was maybe 4 or 5, no older than 5, and I went to a pantomime, and I was one of the kids, probably because my mum had put a word in, that got picked up to be on the song sheet. And we sang Gilly Gilly Ossenpfeffer Casanella over by the sea, which you don't have something like that, which you don't hear of these days. It's like a rhyming thing, and everybody sings it. And I got given a packet of jelly tots by Simple Simon. And I knew in that moment that I would never eat the jelly tots, and I never did. And I knew in that moment that I didn't want to leave the stage, and I didn't want to be the kid in the song sheet. I wanted to be Simple Simon. And I knew, and I invited Simple Simon to my birthday party, and he didn't come, of course. And my birthday was considerably later in the year. I always remember that, scarred for life. But I just knew that I wanted to be in that fairy tale world. So my first panto was when I was 15, and I auditioned, and I played Idle Jack in Dick Whittington in a fabulous show. I was lucky to have learned so much. And when I finished that run of pantomime, I remember coming down the stairs at the back of the Hinckley Concordia Theatre, and the producer and director was a guy called Brian Geary. He was like a father to me. Big, cuddly bear of a man, quite a sort of a proper man's man. I was crying my eyes out, buckets of tears on the last night. And I went, it's all over, it's all over. I'd waited 15 years to be that character. It's all over, it's all over, it's all over. And he went, shut up, stop crying, kid. He said, it's not the end for you. This is the beginning. Wow. And I remember thinking, yeah, okay. I'm going to do this for a job. This is what I'm going to do for a job. I'm going to live in this world forever. And that was the moment I thought, this is not just, I'm going to do this. And that was the sort of the moment, really,
wonderful,
that defined my career. That's it.
Wonderful.
And again,
wonderful.
I still go to that theatre, the Hinckley Concordia pantomime. I go every year and watch it. It's one of the best amateur shows. Well, it doesn't deserve to be called amateur, but it's an incredible show. And I go and watch it every year and nick ideas, actually. It's that good.
And that's the best thing. And I never knew, actually, that I've learned something, that you've got a link to the Little Theatre. I've done the Little Theatre before in Leicester, and it's a wonderful space. If anyone gets a chance to go, do go and visit them, because they're wonderful.
Yeah, the great thing, I mean, people always, amateurs and professionals, it's only a state of mind, professional. It's no different. It doesn't say anything about the quality of the shows, but you do find the amateurs there because they love it, and the Little Theatre, it's all run on love. So you get there, they're pleased to see. I mean, you get there and you do your getting, and there's, hang on, stop, out come the bacon sandwiches and the coffee runs. Like, hang on a minute, well, this doesn't normally happen, Oh no, we all have, do you want sauce? Oh yeah, I forgot. Yeah, you're here because you like it.
Yeah.
So no, we're blessed. Anyway,
Yeah. Thank you. Well, wonderful. So, Richard, you've obviously been in it for a long time now. Sooty has been around in general, because it's a big birthday, isn't it, this year that Sooty's celebrating?
He was 75 years old. So we did a lot of, and we'll continue to do. We're doing a 75 areas. Just in case you forgot what he looked like. There he is.
He's back again.
Pushing his way in. I can't see me now. Get right down there. He's 75 years old. So we're doing a big theatre tour of that, and there's been lots of celebrations and ongoing TV and different things. But it's an incredible, iconic brand, and I'm very lucky to own him, which sounds quite flash, but that came about almost by accident. But because I've got creative control, I've been able to do so much with him, and that includes in the pantomimes. I don't have to ask anybody. We just try new things, and we've done some. The twins have built me some amazing animatronic stuff for him. We got a flying car. We have an animatronic Sooty. All these things that might not have happened. We've been able to try out and expand on Sooty and Sweep without
Yeah.
losing the simplicity, the core values of what it's all about.
Does this is probably a very random question. You'll obviously have to translate Richard, you know, because we can't hear Sooty sometimes, or
You
all
want
the
him up?
time. So,
Okay, he's here.
Sooty, what's your favourite panto that you've been in?
He's
You've
got
got
to
so
think.
many, probably.
Oh, really? Okay. Well, of course. I actually, our favourite panto. Yes, he's telling us. I think the most enjoyable pantomime I've done for many years. I've enjoyed them all for different reasons, and we have. But Sooty particularly was where we did the Wolverhampton Grand. It was Sleeping Beauty. And the reason why Sooty loved it so much is because we were partnered on stage by the lovely, marvellous Debbie McGee.
Yeah.
And as a fellow magician, Sooty was able to help Debbie with her magic. Yeah, and I'm going to let you into a secret. I am very, very precious about who gets to I won't give it away. Put your arms in. Who gets to operate Sooty? Because nobody will in sight. Nobody will do it apart from me. I couldn't dream of anyone else doing it. Sometimes below the counter we have some helpers. But on this one occasion, it seemed absolutely right. And the lovely, marvellous Debbie McGee became Sooty's right-hand woman in that show. And that's why you had a special, and we still love Debbie very, very much, don't we? But that made it a very, very happy and very magical show because we did some, again, big illusions. And Debbie was helped with the magic, which was great because it was wonderful. Like, for me as well, of course, Paul Daniels, my all-time childhood magical hero. Suddenly it's Debbie McGee. Oh, my goodness. Now there's Sooty. Oh, it's like the dream team. So that was it. So there's your answer.
There you go. And that was Sleeping Beauty, that was, wasn't it, as well? It was. I know, it's just when you look back at some of these bills, I'm just having a little look over now. You know, you've been with Craig Revel Horwood, Jason Donovan, you've been with Anita Dobson. What wonderful names to work with, you know, isn't that brilliant?
And my claim to fame is I directed and played against in Cinderella, Danny LaRue's The Last Ever Pantomime. Right. So it was the Ashcroft Theatre, Croydon. Steve Mulhern was amazing as Buttons, but couldn't do all the shows because he had some TV stuff. So I jumped on for Stephen when he was off and played opposite Danny as Fairy. But directing Danny LaRue, what a legend. And that was his last ever show. So I actually look on that as my greatest accolade, just because of his legendary status in theatre to do that. But yeah, I've been brilliantly lucky to have learned so much and been with some amazing people, and they've all been great. And yeah, you draw on a little bit of every year you do a panto, you draw on a little nugget from all those years. You suddenly, oh, that gag will work, or that, oh, I remember, and it all sort of filters through. So I learned a lot out of it from those people. Yeah,
Richard, I can't thank you enough and congratulate you for making it to the Panto Hall of Fame. As many people know, we've taken over Panto Archive, and when speaking to people, as I say, I had one name that kept coming up, which was yourself and Sooty, to mix things up a little bit and to say thank you for all the memories, not just in Panto, but in everyday life, childhood, etc. It's wonderful. And I go to Blackpool every year, and I love seeing Sooty down the promenade still on those illuminations. And yourself, Richard, you're like 6 foot in the air. It's crazy.
Yeah, that was wonderful. The Blackpool Council, mate, see your big face as you're driving. No, this little fella has taken me to some wonderful places. It's not only done things like that, but as you rightly say, it's enabled me to play those amazing parts in Panto. And if I hadn't met this little chap, I'd still be Dandini, I think, staying this way to the ball. Something like that. I'd still be very happy. So I owe him a lot. Yeah,
good. Richard, one last very quick question. If you could bring back any pantomime title that maybe is not done as much now, which one would you want to bring back and perform in, maybe? I know that's quite a big question that is to finish on.
Just wait down there a minute. Well, okay, big, if I could bring back a title. Okay. Right. Well, Mother Goose was always, it's very little done, was always a favourite pantomime of mine, but is very, very reliant on who you've got playing the dame, who you've got playing Mother Goose. It's all about her. But there's a lovely morality lesson within Mother Goose, as well as some great hilarity. So I love that. And you've got all the magic of the goose laying the eggs and the sale of the goose. And it's a great story. And for, like people like John Inman, it was their vehicle from it. So unfortunately, I don't think we have that pedigree of people that can carry that show. So the title's disappeared. I'd love to see that done well. And actually, a little known panto when it's done well is Humpty Dumpty, because Humpty Dumpty goes to Nurseryland, and there's loads of comic characters in Humpty Dumpty. It's a hysterical show done properly. I think they have done it. I think Danny Adams and Clive did it recently. I might be mistaken. Yeah. I think they did. But again, there's a great morality thing there. Humpty becomes this very naughty little boy, you know, and he has to become good. So he goes to Nurseryland. So there's a great story there. But unfortunately, what you have to do, this is a business, it's show business, and commercial titles, what sells tickets, Snow White, Cinderella, you know, Peter Pan very much so now, and Goldilocks is rising. So, you know, the theatres have to make money, and they always play it safe, and I don't blame them. But yeah, if I could cast a magic wand, it would probably be, yeah, Humpty Dumpty, I think, Humpty Dumpty.
Cool. Nice choice. I like it. I like it. Richard, don't you think you could play Mother Goose? You could be the one to bring it back.
There was a brief moment where I thought, I wonder if I could put the frocks on. Absolutely, I couldn't get away with that. You got to know your limits. I just couldn't get away with I think it was ugly Mother Goose you'd ever seen. But no, I'd be enthralled to see it done again. Let's bring it back.
Bless you, bless you. And thank you, Anne Sooty, for joining us today. And once again, congratulations on joining the Panto Hall of Fame. I'd love to give you your award in person at some point, as I've said to you previously. So if Sooty, will you allow me to come and give you the award at some point?
Absolutely. We're going to be all over the country. We'll find a moment and you can photograph that and it'll go on our wall of fame. I'm very honoured. We are very honoured.
Yeah.
So thank you, and everybody that voted. I'm very, very grateful.
Bless you, bless you. And Richard, where are you? You're all throughout the country, aren't you, this coming year? You're everywhere, aren't you?
Yeah, we're touring up and down. We've got 46 dates starting in a few weeks with the Sooty show. I'm then working on some TV projects in the summer, which is very exciting. And then I go in October, I do my illusion. Leave Sooty alone for a minute, and I do my big illusion show. It's a show called Cirque de Magique, and it's massive illusions. We're touring the country with that for just 4 weeks. Very exciting circus acts and some big stunts, very different to the world of Sooty. And then I would imagine we'll move into Panto. So where TBD, I have no idea. But as I say, I've had 1 year off and that's enough. So I'll be back.
He's back. And once again, thank you so much for all the memories, all the lovely times that you've brought, smiles to those people's faces, tears for those poor young girls on the front, but nice tears, you know, and just bringing that magic alive. We are very proud to welcome you into the Panto Hall of Fame. Thank you, Richard. Thank you, Sooty.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Don't forget to say hello to Sue and Sweep, obviously, as well, won't you?
Absolutely. We'll pass that on, and because they share this award, of course.
Yeah.
So I'll make sure they know that they are appreciated too. Thank you so much.
Bless you very much. Thank you, Richard. And don't forget that if you want to have a look on the Panto archive, you can now, and you'll be able to read all about Richard and Sooty's Panto magic there. See you soon.